This doctrine has failed. What failed was a specific answer to a specific 17th century emergency. James VI of Scotland published a short book in Edinburgh in 1598, arguing that kings answer to God alone, and that a rebellion against a lawful king is a sin. We call it the divine rights of kings, and most people assume it let the king do anything he wanted. What did the doctrine actually claim, and why did serious people once believe it? The doctrine was one answer to a problem every state has to solve. Every government needs some account of where its authority comes from, and that account decides who may remove a ruler. Think of it as a manager in a company and ask who can fire him. The answer depends on who gave him the job in the first place. Modern states trace authority to the people, which is why an election can dismiss a government. Divine right theory says royal authority comes from God, and everything else is the doctrine follows from that one move. What follows from it? If God gives the king his office, his power rests on no contract with the people, and it owes nothing to the Pope. God alone installed him, so God alone can judge him. The practical edge was aimed at rebellion. No Pope could depose the king, and no parliament could put him on trial. An armed uprising had no lawful standing at all. Subjects could petition a bad ruler, and they could refuse a command that directly violated God's law, but then they had to accept the punishment rather than revolt. The theorists call this passive obedience. The whole structure rested on Scripture. Apostle Paul had written that the powers that are ordained of God and the Old Testament showed kings like Saul and David anointed at God's command. Nothing in it says the king is divine or that his words defines right and wrong. We can test the legend against James himself because he left us his own words. Speaking to the English Parliament in 1610, he said that kings are justly called gods because they exercise a resemblance of divine power on earth. That line gets quoted endlessly as proof of megalomania. The same speech contains something the quotations usually leave out. He told Parliament that a settled king binds himself by a double oath to the fundamental laws of his realm. A king who stops ruling by his laws, he said, degenerates into a tyrant. In the Basilicon Doron, the manual of kingship that he wrote for his son around the same time, he put it plainly. A king acknowledges himself ordained for his people. The office came from God, and duties arrived with it. A king who ruled badly was sinning against God, who employed him, and on the doctrine's own terms, he faced the judgment far heavier than anything Parliament could impose. That's England. Does the French version look any different? France is where the doctrine reached its fullest form. Bishop Bossuet taught that royal authority has 4 characteristics. It is sacred, it is paternal, it is absolute, and it is subject to reason. Then he drew the line between absolute government and arbitrary government. Absolute meant that no human institution could overrule or depose the king. Arbitrary meant rule by personal whim without regard to law, and Bossuet condemned it. His king was a public person bound by divine law and obligated to rule for the good of his people. Louis XIV is remembered for supposedly declaring that he was the state, and there is no good evidence that he ever said this. The doctrine that his own court taught held that the king belonged to the state and that he would answer to God for how he served it. If the doctrine was really this careful, why did anyone need it at all? The answer is in the wreckage of the Reformation. By the late 1500s, Europe had a legitimacy crisis running in two directions. From above, the papacy claimed the power to release subjects from their allegiance. From below, writers began arguing that the people could resist a tyrant. France had just lived through decades of religious civil war. Henry III was assassinated in 1589 and Henry IV was stabbed to death in his own carriage in 1610. Read against that background, divine right of theory was security doctrine in a way. Its authors were there trying to make civil war and regicide theologically impossible. The weakness that eventually killed this doctrine is that it leaves subjects with no remedy against a genuinely bad king. The subjects' only option was to endure him and leave the judging to God. And that is a serious weakness, and the theorists knew about it. Their answer was that the alternative was worse. A country where anyone can declare the ruler a tyrant and then act on that claim tends toward permanent war. So how did this doctrine fall? In England, it collided with a parliament that controlled taxation and insisted royal authority rested on law and consent. The collision produced civil war, and in 1649, Charles I, the son of James, was tried and beheaded. James II fled the country in 1688, and Parliament settled the crown on its own terms. A king who reigns because Parliament arranged it cannot plausibly claim an appointment straight from God. In France, the doctrine survived until the Revolution. When Charles X was anointed at Reims in 1825, the ceremony was already an antique. Before I get to what monarchists should actually be doing about all of this, a quick word on how this channel runs. This is a monarchist channel, and it makes this case openly. The argument here is that monarchy had been a serious source of stability and legitimacy, and that losing it has usually cost more than people expected. If you think this perspective is worth defending, the simplest way to help is to subscribe on YouTube, so the argument reaches more people who are open to it. If you want to back it directly, YouTube membership and the Patreon community are both open. Now, how should a monarchist actually use this history? The place to begin is knowing the real doctrine, because the distorted version is the most common weapon used against monarchy. When someone claims that monarchy means God letting kings do as they please, the reply is already on the record. James put the tyrant warning in writing himself, and Bossuet condemned arbitrary rule by name. This doctrine has failed, and monarchists gain nothing by pretending otherwise. What failed was a specific answer to a specific 17th century emergency. The crown states of Europe today rest on entirely different foundations. The second thing worth taking away is the question underneath the doctrine. Every political order still has to say who may remove a ruler. And every answer has to stop somewhere. The divine right theorists stopped at God and accepted what that cost. The arguments over what rule by the people means in practice are still running today. That leaves the title question with a plain answer. A king held his office from God, and no power on earth could remove him. The same doctrine insisted far more firmly than its reputation suggested that he sat under law and duty, and that he would answer for every failure. Why serious people once believed it is the part the shorthand version never explains, and that part deserves to be remembered accurately. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.